What's up, everyone? It's Nick from Team Nitro IGO here, and today I am bringing you my virtual world deck profile that I took to a 5th place finish at my local. You know, it's not super impressive, but I did want to profile this deck because I've been having a ton of fun playing it. I've been grinding DB ladder with it, and I think it is one of the better rogue decks in this format. But let's quickly run over my matchups like I do with every tournament report and deck profile I do on the channel. So round 1 was the mirror match. We ended up drawing. It was just a super grindy match. We were looping Lancias against each other. We were trying to make sure the other player couldn't stick a boss monster. It was just a very tough game. Round 2 was Gladiator Beast. I ended up losing because I don't know what any of the fucking Gladiator Beast cards do, and to be completely honest, I'm still not going to learn what those cards do. Round 3, I beat Dragon Link. Round 4, I beat Zoodiac Eldlich. And round 5, I beat Invoked Dogmatika. So I went 3-1-1. I got 5th place, so I have 8 packs of Genesis Impact coming to the house, so those will actually be fun to open on camera, which I think what I'm going to do at the end of the month is I'm just going to open all my prize packs on camera. But that's besides the point. As always, the link to the deck list is in the description of this video if you just want the deck list. But if you want some in-depth card analysis and some theory, then stick around. So let's run through the deck profile. The virtual world lineup is pretty standard. I don't think it's changed at all. So we're playing 3 copies of Lulu, the Stratos of the deck, 3 copies of Lala, the Monster Reborn. This is by far actually the most important virtual world, because it's both your extender and recovery for future turns. The thing is nuts. 3 GG to get you back cards in the end phase. I always forget to do that. 3 Kirin to send 2 cards at once. And then for the monsters that can't summon themselves from your hand, 2 copies of Nyanyan. This card's an extender in the graveyard. This is the first thing I send off basically all my VW effects, so that I have access to a tuner if I need it, because it does summon itself back as a tuner. And then the 1/2/2. This thing is garbage, but it does come up in some of your combo lines. And going second, it's actually okay, because if you open it in a bunch of level 6s, actually in one of my most recent DB matches, I was playing against Shadal, and the way I won was by normal summoning 2/2, and then having a virtual world on board so I can summon the things out of my hand, which let me get to mech and I could play. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of this card. I don't think it's very good, but, you do need to play it for the instances where, your hand is just super clogged with level 6s and you need to get things on the board. It also helps you discard cards to get it out of the graveyard, so it has that utility as well. So that does it for the virtual world monsters. On to the hand traps, which I think for this part is mostly stock. Triple Ash Blossom. This thing's just super generic, super powerful. You want to I think I played in, every deck in the format. I decided to main deck Gamma. Normally, I don't like playing this card in my going first combo decks, but in this deck, it's a little bit different because you need discard fodder for half of your effects. So if you're going first, you can actually just pitch the Gamma to all of your virtual world cards, and it basically accomplished the same thing as if it were any other card in your hand. And also, just going second, it's by far the most powerful hand trap in the game. So yeah, this card's a brick, but it's whatever. This card actually overperformed for me in the main, because, you just lose a bunch of die rolls, and, the card can actually be converted. And then the last main deck hand trap I play was 3 main deck copies of Lancia. This card underperformed last night, but I think it is very good in the context of the format. Being able to interact with Dragon Link and Eldlich and all the other things, and also just being able to hose some rogue decks. If you play against Phantom Knight or you play against Dinosaur, if you Lancia them, you just end their turn. And, again, all these cards can be converted against pretty much every deck, because, control decks have to use monster effects, so you can Gamma them. Ash and Lancia are just pretty versatile cards that can do stuff against everything, so I was pretty happy with this hand trap lineup. If you wanted to cut the Gammas or the Lancias for something else, I completely understand, but I just wanted to play as many high-impact, versatile hand traps as I could, and these felt like the best ones to play. So that does it for the monsters. Onto the spell cards, playing 3 copies of Kowloon, so you can get your gates on the field. 3 Qinglong. This is how you beat Winda. Is you can get this card on the board, and then you banish a VW out of your grave, and you negate the Winda effect, so you're able to play. And then this thing also does act as a graveyard search effect. You banish it from grave, add a VW card, and then pitch a card out of your hand, so... And then for consistency spells, 3 copies of Pot of Desires. I'm not playing Prosperity because I don't own it, and half damage is actually pretty important in a deck that, lacks critical kill ability. So, I'd just rather have raw card advantage. And, you need discards for pretty much every single one of your, relevant VW effects. So just having an extra plus is good to help you recoup those resources. 2 copies of Goods. This acts as a starter and an extender, because you can send Qinglong to search, or you can send Zhuanmu to extend. You can also send Chuche for level modulation. So, yeah, this card came up. I know some lists aren't playing it, but I would highly recommend playing this card. It does definitely help you unbreak your hands, and it, get your deck going. And then the last spell card's Emergency Teleport, because it's an extender. You have Lulu that's a psychic, you have Nyanyan that's a psychic, You can also technically summon Gamma out of your deck if you just want to thin the deck of Gamma. So that does it for the spells. For your trap, my bad. For the traps, I'm playing 2 Chuche and 1 Zhuanmu. Like, I thought about playing 2 Zhuanmu because sometimes, like, you draw this card and you don't have a discard outlet, and playing the second one in deck would matter. But this card is a brick, so I don't really want to play 2 of it. I thought about playing 3 Chuche as well because you really want to have this card on the field for part of your end board. But, I don't know. This definitely is the correct ratio for traps, like, mathematically. But I just have my own, like, little biases. So that does it for the main deck. It's 40 cards. I don't think I'd change anything about the main deck. It felt very, very good to me last night. I think the only thing I would maybe consider doing is I would change the Gammas for a different hand trap if you just don't like Gamma. But I think this card's just so high impact. And again, like, going first, you just pitch it to any of your effects. Going second, it can end your opponent's turn. And, like, I really like having a card like that in this deck where, like, you're able to, like, blow... Because, like, in this deck, you're able to, like, Gamma them and then end on, like, a very powerful board. That's why I like Gamma in these going first combo decks, especially if they can make Lambda, because you're just able to like end on a disruption that your opponent like can't really do anything about. So that is it for the main deck. On to the extra deck. My apologies. I don't know what got into me today. So for the extra deck, we got the 1 Charge Warrior and the 1 Coral Dragon. These help you make Zulkin and draw cards on your way to Zulkin. And the 1 Juju. This card makes your doll matchup pretty easy, because they don't really have good ways of outing it, and it also is just a removal spell. So, like, in the grind game, you can, like, make this and start interacting with your opponent's cards. Coral Dragon also does that. For the 9s, Cloud Castle, Mech, and Shenshen. All these were very good. I made Mech and Shenshen a ton. Cloud Castle basically never came out, but it's for the random scenario where, like, you make Shenshen, and then you have to, like, XC with it, and then you can make Cloud Castle and get it back. So, like... I'm not sure how I feel about this card. I kind of want to cut it for something else, but I know that once I cut it, I'm going to miss it. Like, maybe that's confirmation bias. Maybe that's just, like, you know, some kind of psychological thing. But, like, I kind of think this Cloud Castle could be cut for something else. For the XC monsters, Toon to help you make Zeus. Downard that goes on top of the Toon. M7. I kind of wish I played 2 M7s. This card's ridiculous. Like... How you're able to win most of your grind games with this deck is you just, like, make M7, and then you start looping your hand traps. Like, you start looping Ash and Gamma and Lancia, and you're just able to lock them out of the game and gain tempo every turn. This card's ridiculous. Enter Blathnir, so Dragoon out. This thing's so hard to make, though. Like, I don't think I'd cut it, though, because, like, sometimes you do just make it, and you're able to out-random things. Like I said, it's a Dragoon out. You're also able to, like... You can do things like make Mech... You know, get a card out of their hand, like banish Chuche, make a 9, overlay on top of this, detach, get rid of another card on their board, or get rid of the card in their hand. So, like, it does come up. It does have its implications for sure, but I'm not sure if I would play it going forward. Because it's so hard to make, especially against, like, cards that you need to make it against. And then lastly, the Zeus, because this thing is ridiculous. Like, going second, this is how you win pretty much every game. Like, you just try to turbo into Zeus so you can answer their board. And then for the Zulkin package, we have the Zulkin, the Money Mud Dragon, the Crystal Wing, and the Dragoon. So I'm on Dragoon over Kaliga because game 1 I would much rather have a Omni Negate. I think that's just more powerful than Kaliga. Because if your opponent outs the Kaliga, then like your end board is just the Crystal Wing. But like if you have both of these, this gives you 2 pieces of disruption. And like I understand like the point of having Crystal Wing Kaliga is like, oh well, you negate just the one thing you can do per turn. But like then you have to get rid of the Kaliga yourself, whereas like this is still but even if you get into that board state, you still have to answer your own Kaliga, which is kind of hard to do because you're also locked under 1 effect per turn. So like unless you tribute summon it, it's like really bad. Like it's a negative tempo play. Whereas this is still just a 3k beater that can't be targeted, and like you still have negates with it, even if it can't burn. So I think I'm still gonna play this over Kaliga, but if you wanted to play Kaliga, you could. That does it for the extra deck. Like I said, the only thing I think I would change is the Cloud Castle. I'd maybe play Crocosaur, or I would play Trishula instead. I'm not sure yet. For the side deck, Triple Copies, Droll, and Lockbird. I was very underimpressed with this card. Like, this card did not really do much at the local. The theory is that it's an FTK against Doll and Rogue. So, like, if you have FTKs in your deck, you just, like, you FTK them, and then you make your board, and then you say go. And, like, you've gained so much tempo and advantage throughout the game that they just can't play. But that really didn't happen, so I don't know if I'd play this card going forward, but, you know, It still is an FTK against, like, Invoked, though. Because, like, if you drop it against them, even if they can't, like, even if you can't kill them, as long as you make, like, 1 or 2 disruptions, it does just end the game for you, so. Triple copies of Nib for combo decks and for Rogue. I didn't really want to main deck this card because it's a very terrible 6 card, and you are often in a position where this card doesn't do much for you. Because, like, you have to tribute your own board a lot of the time, and for the most part, you kind of want to keep your resources on the board. But against certain matchups, this card is just game. Like, against a lot of Rogue decks, they aren't able to play through this card. And, like, even the meta decks sometimes. Like, I still board this in against Dragon Link when I go second, because you just need high-impact cards to end the Dragon Link player's turn. Which is part of the reason for, like, the main deck Gammas and Lancias and stuff. Like, as you can see, we're trying to side into, like, when we side against Dragon Link, we just want to have 15, like, impactful cards. It's like, as long as your hand is, like, 2 cards to combo, plus 3 hand traps that, like, FTK them, you're going to win the game. For back row matchups, 3 Cosmic. These should probably be MSTs, actually. Because of Lancia. Like, Lancia hurting this deck means that we can't resolve this against our back row matchups. So I should probably just play MST over this card, but I just forgot that MST was a card, honestly. Going forward, I think I'm going to try that, though, because, like, you don't want to lose to random back row decks. Because everyone's playing Lancia right now, and they're going to born in Lancia against you. So this should definitely be just MST. And then the Pankratops, the Feather Duster, and the Red Reboot. You know, nothing much to say about these cards. And then the best card in my side deck, Triple There Can Be Only One. This came in, like, pretty much every game I went first. Because against every combo matchup, this thing is insane. And, like, there are some Rogue decks that also just can't beat this card. Like, against Gladiator Beast, I boarded this thing going first, I flipped it, and I won. Like, I was like, you know, if your deck's like half Beast Warrior, I'm just going to flip There Can Be Only One, and if you have the out for it, you have the out for it. And, like, because you're playing Virtual World, they're not really going to board in cards like Twin Twister and Cosmic. So you're able to just flip this against them. They don't really have an out. Like, especially if you get to make, like, the full end board of, like, Crystal Wing, Dragoon, Shenshen. Because these are all different types, too. Like, this is a Dragon, this is a Spellcaster, this is a Psychic. So you're able to flip this. Like, they can't interact, and then you just kill them. So, yeah, this card overperformed for me. I don't think I would cut it. I mean, you could arguably play something else instead, but I really think this card just, like, does more than Dark Ruler No More and other cards like that. Like, I don't really want to play board-breaking cards in this deck because I just don't think they're super impactful. I would much rather play, just, like, these blowout cards. Like, I'd much rather play, like, Drolls and Nibiru's and stuff. Like, stuff that isn't complete ass. Because, like, people have now started to figure out to make, not Malicious Bane, the Archfiend Bane or whatever it's called, the level 9 Synchro. So, like, they can respond to your Dark Ruler with Dragon Maid Tidying, and then they can respond with Bane to negate the Dark Ruler, and there's, like, you haven't accomplished anything, whereas this card still accomplishes something. So that does it for the deck profile. Like I said, I went 3-1-1 in my locals with this deck. Like, it was super fun. Like, it was just really nice to, like, play a combo deck again. The same thing when I played PK at Emancipator. Like, it's just a breath of fresh air to play, like, a very interesting combo deck that, like, can actually play a grind game. Like, this deck plays a lot like Salad, which is why I think I was able to do so well with it, because I've just been playing Salad forever. But yeah. Like, this deck still has its weaknesses, though. Like, specific targeted interaction is enough to end your turn. Like, Lancia can be a blowout against you sometimes. You do a pretty good job of playing through Nibiru if you're able to manage your resources properly. But, like, for the most part, if your opponent knows when to hand trap you, then it's very hard for you to actually make an end board. Like, a lot of this deck comes from the surprise factors, like, people don't really know how to play against it. And, like, people aren't used to playing against this deck now that VFD's banned, so you get to gain leverage in that. But anyway, that's going to do it for this deck profile, everyone. Like I said, the deck list is in the description if you just want the deck list. My Facebook and my Twitter are also in the description. Go follow me, go friend me. I post some cool stuff. And that's going to do it. My name is Nick from Team Nitro YGO. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next video.